Texas Agriculture Commissioner Sid Miller, thank you so much and welcome back to Eye on Politics.
Good to be with you. Thank you.
You bet. So here we go. March 3rd primary is just around the corner. Early voting starts 2 weeks from today when we are speaking. And so I'm wondering, why should Republican primary voters choose you over Nate Sheets?
Well, the obvious reason, I'm the best candidate. I'm the most qualified. I'm the most experienced. I'm the only one that has an agriculture background. I've plowed, cultivated, and harvested crops. My opponent's never done any of that. I'm an eighth generation farmer. My opponent's never even lived on a farm. I have an agriculture education, honors graduate from Tarleton State University. My opponent has no agriculture education. I graduated and became an ag teacher. So I taught young people, very honored to do that, how to be successful farmers and ranchers. My opponent's never done that. I was FFA and 4-H leader. My opponent says that FFA doesn't teach anything about agriculture. Matter of fact, he was never even a member of 4-H or FFA, so he's totally unqualified. This is a very serious position. This agency is an $8 billion agency. That's bigger than the budgets of 37 governors. So whoever's in this job, they need to be able to be equipped. They need to understand the issues of agriculture, consumer protection, rural health care, biosecurity. All of that is very important. He has no experience in any of those areas.
He said he has founded a company and has since sold it that produce raw and unfiltered honey. And so he says he knows about the process. What do you say to that as far as putting together a company, running it? That does produce some experience in that field, no?
Well, yeah, he had a company that sold $3 or $4 million worth of honey a year. I run an $8 billion agency. It dwarfs his business. Now, he's a good businessman. He had a good honey operation. He got in trouble with it. He got sued because he wasn't selling, or the lawsuit said he wasn't selling raw or unfiltered honey. They settled that lawsuit, and then he promptly sold the business. So it's questionable about what he's saying. The Texas Beekeepers Association have endorsed my campaign. They can't stand the man, and I don't think he can stand them. 7 honey companies came up and endorsed my campaign over this guy, his own occupation. They just really don't care for him. So I really don't, he's a good guy. I don't dislike him. But when it comes to qualifications, I outweigh him, 10 to 1, maybe 100 to 1.
Okay. I'm unaware of the lawsuit that you mentioned. Let me just ask you about Governor Abbott making headlines recently, endorsing Nate Sheets over you.
Yeah.
What do you say to that?
But I wasn't surprised. He recruited my last 2 opponents. He's recruited Nate Sheets. Nate gave him $85,000. So it wasn't that surprised. I think Abbott takes it personal. I don't take politics personal. You really shouldn't do that. A little bit disappointed. I think the governor probably, for the most part, does a good job. But I have a responsibility to agriculture to stand up for them. And I had responsibility to stand up for Republicans. And when he added a 3rd week to early voting during COVID, which he didn't have the authority to do, but he did it anyway, I sued him and tried to stop him. When he shut the border down to give safety inspections to trucks that already had safety inspections, we lost $3 billion worth of product. We had over 750 Texas trucks stuck in Mexico for a week, couldn't even get across the border. So I called him out on that. He doesn't like to be called out, and that's why he even accused me of a vote I took and 25 years ago. I mean, I'm pretty proud of that, actually. If you have to go back 25 years to find one mistake I made, I'm doing pretty good in my book.
And as far as the endorsements, you've got a lot of endorsements. Sheets has his set of endorsements. At the end of the day, what do they say about your campaign, the people who've endorsed you?
Well, they're all, they're in my corner. The people that's endorsed him are probably never in my corner. A lot of the endorsements that Sheets got Abbott was behind that. He encouraged them to do it. And of course, no, they don't want, they're scared of the governor. I'm not, but they are. So they don't want to, go against the governor. So they endorsed, so they gain favor with the governor. I don't think there's but one endorsement that really counts in this race. I wouldn't put a lot of emphasis on endorsement, even though I think I've got 120, 150 endorsements, some of the, leading political figures and agriculture people. The one endorsement that counts is the voter. And that's whose endorsement I want. I want the voter. I want the Texas voter to support my campaign. And that's who I'm talking to. And that would mean more to me than anybody else's endorsement.
I know one of the issues that has come up in the campaign and also did make headlines was the fact that you hired your political consultant, Todd
Yeah,
Smith,
yeah, I sure
as
did.
chief of staff after he had pleaded guilty to commercial bribery, basically for selling hemp licenses that your office regulated. So why did you do that? Especially
Well,
after he
I
pleaded
tell you
guilty.
what, I did that because it's the best hire I've ever made. What happened to Todd Smith has happened to numerous Republicans. Keep in mind, this is Travis County, the most liberal DA's office in probably in the nation. The DA is funded by George Soros. The judge is a George Soros judge put there by Soros. They This is the same DA's office that went after Tom DeLay, took him 10 years and $10 million to prove his innocence. Same office that went after Rick Perry, took him 4 years and $5 million to prove his innocence. K. Bailey Hutchinson, same story. They've come after me twice. They couldn't even get enough on me to indict me. So they came after Todd Smith for this very purpose, to get headlines for the election so they could defeat me. Todd, bankrupt Todd, he was in a very, unusual position. The appeal would have cost him another $400,000. His lawyers told him, "You're innocent. We can prove it, but you're going against a George Soros DA, a George Soros judge, and a solid Democrat jury in Travis County." And they just indicted and convicted Trump on 94 felonies. And we all know he's totally innocent. They're going to do the same thing to you. They
So
offered him
you're
a sweetheart deal, small fine, some community service, and it goes away in 3 months. It won't even be on his record. So I told him to take the deal and let's go to work to make Texas great.
So you're basically denying, you categorically deny that he was doing any of this,
He wasn't. No, he's innocent, totally innocent.
but people see the guilty plea and still wonder, no?
Well, not if they consider what I just said, that it was all a sham by George Soros judges and DAs and juries.
One other thing I wanted to ask you about, what Sheets told me, was that you've had a pretty sizable turnover of staff. You've lost 130 people since March. What do you say to that?
Well, we have 800 employees, so that wouldn't be that unusual. But I went back and checked; it's nowhere near that. We do have some turnover. We have retirements. We have people that move within the agency. We have people that find upward movement in other agencies. Actually, if you look at the facts, we were named one of the state agencies with the lowest turnover. Our turnover is about 14%, and compare that with the governor's 21%. State turnover is high. It's usually around 18 to 20, 25%. And we're well below the average on that. So I'm pretty proud of that. My people, they love what they do. They stay, they make careers out of it. We have a program for them to advance within the agency. And a lot of them leave our agency only when they do, they reach retirement. So I don't know. I don't think the 130 is right. I don't know where he's getting those numbers. He did not send a PIR in, from us to get those numbers. We're glad to get them for him, but I don't think he wants the real numbers.
What are your proudest accomplishments? You've been in office as Agriculture Commissioner since 2015.
Well, we've got a lot of those. I think the one that's made the most difference and continues to make a difference is our food nutrition program. When I took over, our schools weren't serving any local products. They were buying their products from Benny Keith or Cisco's, ultra processed, flash frozen, added salts, dyes, preservatives, all kinds of chemicals. They would thaw it out and put it on the plastic tray. Well, the kids wouldn't eat it. Instead of having healthy kids, we had healthy trash cans. And so I set out to get local healthy food in our schools, and we've done that through my Farm Fresh program. Started out on Farm Fresh Fridays, where we challenge them at least on Friday, serve something local, and have Meet the Farmer Friday, and let them that farmer come in and tell them how that food got on their plate. It's worked great. Now it's all volunteer. We don't mandate it. 81% of our schools are participating now on a voluntary basis. And last year, our schools bought $300 million of locally grown food, cooked from scratch, served our children. And guess what? It didn't go in the trash can. They ate it. So our taxpayers win because their taxpayer dollars aren't going in the garbage can. Our farmers win because now they've got a new market, can get a little bit of a premium. Our schools get a cheaper product because they're cutting out the middleman. So this is a win-win-win. Everybody wins. Bobby Kennedy loves what we're doing here. We've become very good friends. He invited me to be part of the Maha movement. I was there when we unveiled the inverted pyramid, the new Maha pyramid. I'm the only statewide elected official on the Maha project team. Very proud of that. And he's coming to Texas. He wants to take a tour and model what we're doing here in Texas, so we can use the Texas model across the nation, and do across the nation what we're doing here in Texas, and that's promoting locally grown fresh products. No ultra processed products. That needs to
And
end.
okay. And any plans to expand that?
Yes, I mean we only have 81%, so we're working on that. I work very, very hard to get whole milk back in the schools, and we finally got it. So that's great. I'm working now to get bulk milk machines in the schools. Right now, they're serving milk in plastic bottles or plastic cartons. That costs extra money, and that goes in the landfill. We can put in these bulk machines, and so far, what we found out is kids drink a lot more milk if it comes out of the bulk machine, and there's no trash for the landfill. And the reason they do, it's almost ice cold. It's so much colder and tastes so much better than that milk coming out of the cooler. So I think we can save the school districts money because they can buy it in bulk. It doesn't have to be refrigerated. I think the kids will drink more milk, which will be more healthy. There's not a better food than whole milk. I mean, it's God's nectar for infants and children. It builds strong bones, and everybody knows the attributes to drinking whole milk, especially for kids.
I know one thing that Sheets mentioned was that he said that our state is ranked 41st when it comes to healthy school lunches. What do you say to that?
Well, if you dig far enough, you can find any fact you want, and that's one of those way, way, way out there. It come from a leftist organization that supplies temporary people to schools. So everybody above that, that one's really an old one. The last one I looked at, the most current one, had us at 18th. But let me tell you what the real story is. So if you need to look at the rankings of the USDA. USDA gave us the highest ranking and the highest award for our school nutrition program. They gave us an award for it, for our Farm Fresh program. They also gave us an award for having the best summer feeding program. I set up 4,200 feeding sites through the summer to keep these hungry, malnourished kids fed. We don't even have to do that. It's not mandatory. I do it because it's the right thing to do. I don't want to see any hungry kids in Texas, and we're expanding that. We'll get up to probably 5,000 this summer. Those enrollments are open, so if there's anybody out there, a school that wants to participate, a church, a community service group, anybody, we'll partner with anybody and help you set those up.
What other new initiatives do you have planned if you are to be reelected in November?
Well, I've got several, actually. I don't know if we have time to go through all of them, but one, we have a real problem with data centers, solar farms, crypto mines taking up our very fertile farmland, taking it out of production, using up too much water, and we're already out of water, and using large amounts of electricity and driving electric rates up. So they're totally unregulated. There's no oversight. There's no organization. So I came up with an idea called agriculture freedom zones, where through incentives, not regulation, but incentives, we would encourage them to build on our less productive land. Brown fields, rocky, shallow soil, places like that. And to entice them to do that, we can give them, deferred capital gains relief. We can give them accelerated depreciation, things like that. And that would give some kind of guardrails around these. Now, we also on the verge of releasing SMRs. Those are small modular reactors. These are nuclear reactors. They could create their own power with these. They would be underground, out of sight, no noise pollution, and they could produce enough electricity for their own needs and put some back on the grid, which would be a game changer. Also, they wouldn't need any water to cool these. These are cooled with hydrogen or closed loop liquid salt. So that would solve that problem. The biggest problem facing us that we're already working on, but it's going to take probably 4 years to get there, is our agriculture trade deficit. Under the Biden administration, we lost all of our trading partners, and we are now buying $50 billion more food than we're exporting. America's always been a net exporter of agriculture products. Usually our one or two largest export is agriculture. That's not, we lost all of our customers. So we're working real hard to bring that back in balance and make agriculture number one export again. I have 45 international trade missions planned in the next 12 months. So me getting reelected is imperative to carry those out. As we speak, I have a team in Dubai. I have a team in Oman. I have a team in Mexico City. 2 months ago, we finally consummated a deal with Taiwan. They have agreed to buy an additional $10 billion for Texas and American agriculture products. So immediately we've dropped it from 50 billion. The deficit's now 40. Actually, it's lower than that. We've had some other deals. So the agriculture trade deficit, doing something about these data centers, and there's a whole lot left. We've got tariffs to work on. We don't have a farm bill. We've got the screwworm to deal with. We've got the cotton
Yeah,
jacket. We've got rice.
I'd like to ask you about that. So, have tariffs hurt farmers, and if so, what's the answer?
Well, actually, when you do tariffs in the beginning, they hurt farmers because it disrupts the markets. But the ideal on tariffs, and you can go back and look at the first administration of Trump, he said, now it's going to get rough on the front end, but I got you on the back end. And he was right. When Trump left office, but with the use of tariffs as a trading tool, our farmers got more money for their products than they ever had, and their life was good. And then Biden took over, and then he didn't hold them to it. So he's done the same thing now. We just saw China buy a record number of soybeans. The soybean prices have come back up. That's all due to tariffs. Tariffs are the farmer's best friend. It's rocky in the start, but the long term it's well worth it. So they're working. They're doing good. We just saw them lower the tariffs in India. So we will now move more products to India. That was huge. There's more people in India than there is in China.
And what about E-Verify for farmers? Should farmers use E-Verify? Should they be required to?
I don't think they're against it. Here's we used to use a lot of illegal labor. That's really not the case anymore. I don't think a lot of people know that. But we have a program called H2A. It started out with 75,000 legal migrant workers in that program. We've got that upped and upped. Right now it's 400,000. We're getting another 100,000. So it's going to be 500,000 legal migrant workers. And our total need is about 800,000. And the 800,000 is shrinking because of technology. We now have cows that milk themselves. We have tractors that drive themselves. We have unmanned drones that do our spraying for us and save us tons of money. Most of our crops can be mechanically harvested now. So the need for hand labor is shrinking, and the H2A program is growing. So we haven't closed the gap, but we're not in dire straits like we were at one time. So it's much better than it was. I don't think farmers would have a problem with E-Verify. They really do not want to work illegal workers. The worst thing that can happen to a dairyman is somebody knock on his door at 4 o'clock in the morning and said, "Hey, boss, they picked up all the hands. Who's going to milk the cows?" You just don't want to put yourself in that position. Or who's going to harvest the crops? They picked them all up. That's not a good financial situation to be in.
You mentioned the New World screwworm, and today, or recently, I should say, last week, Governor Abbott issued a disaster declaration to prevent its spread. What do you say to that? And has the state done enough, in your opinion, to prevent this screwworm from coming to the United States? Hasn't gotten here yet, right?
No, and that's kind of confusing. Why would you do a disaster declaration if there's no disaster yet? Well, I agree with it, and it's preemptive. So if we do get the screwworm, and it looks like we're going to get it, it allow my agency, other agencies to react quickly and responsibly, and in real time, instead of having to wait and wade through paperwork and bureaucracy. That was a good move. I totally agree with it.
And just how devastating is this screwworm to its cattle, right? I mean, that's really what it hurts the most is cattle.
Well, actually, we have 200 species of mammals in Texas. Every one of them is susceptible. So livestock, all livestock, not just cattle, but sheep, goats, pigs, chickens, horses, pets are susceptible. Wildlife, we have 5,000 head of deer in the state. They're all susceptible. Pigs and turkeys, but pets, people. There's, I think, 18 cases of people infected in Mexico, 2 deaths from screwworms. So it's not just cattle. It's we talk about cattle more than anything else, but that's cattle is king in Texas. We have twice as many as the second place state.
And my last question to you on cattle is, I was reading recently that there are 1,700 people up in Amarillo who are going to be laid off. I guess one of the shifts is being eliminated at one of the cattle production facilities, beef production facilities. How do you prevent something like that? And what's driving this?
Well, what's driving it first is low cattle numbers. Our inventory is way too low. We have to find some way to generate more cattle and increase the cattle herd. And there's not enough cattle to run the plant, so they had to cut back. I mean, there's just not enough inventory. So I don't disagree with them. I'm sad that 1,700 people can get laid off. I disagreed with the president when he said we're going to quadruple our imports from Argentina. That actually makes our ag trade deficit much worse. We just talked about that. So I made some constructive suggestions to the president and his staff. I said, first, if you want to have a larger cattle herd, reopen the grazing lands that Biden shut down. He canceled all the grazing leases on federal land. We now have 24 million acres of land that's idle. So we can open that back up. They took my suggestion actually, and Doug Burgum opened 5 million acres. We'll probably open more. I told him create a tax retention tax credit for keeping heifers back. Give that rancher $500 to keep a heifer, make a cow out of her. They haven't done that one yet. And the third thing I said, open the border to Mexican cattle. Every year we get 1,200,000 head of cattle from Mexico. That would fill those feedlots back up. That plant in Amarillo would not have closed.
Hmm. All right, we will leave it there. Texas Agriculture Commissioner Sid Miller, thank you so much.
Thank you. God bless.
We appreciate it.